We both had some experience with a lot of different churches, and we were at another church and weren't real happy there, and we're kind of looking to, go somewhere else. And we both had kind of known people that had gone to Roots separately, but hadn't really talked about it together. I said, well, what about Roots? I heard about Roots. This was 5 years ago, 4 years ago.
4 years.
Probably 4 years ago. And you were like, seriously? Like, I wanted to go to Roots. I just never said anything to you. And I was like, well.
What it took for us to building connections over 8 years, it took about 8 months at Roots, just because of the drive that we have to get people rooted, to play on the words, but to get people rooted into connecting with God, connecting with others. And we went all in pretty quickly, and that only helped us to build connection. And so we had, wins and we had trials before Roots, but the thing about since being at Roots is it just feels different because we have a whole team of people praying for us, and people we don't even know, for one, but we've made connections, deep relationships, and it doesn't feel like we're doing life alone.
Just going to church. Well, I don't think we weren't involved really at all. I mean, we had been regular attenders at church, different churches, but we hadn't really ever been like all in, like committed and really part of a full church family. So.
My parents were pastors before I was born, pastors for most of my childhood. I have always been a regular attender. So church isn't something that was new to me. Church attendance, giving wasn't new, but there was something about the God and Country series that really made us just go all in on living life as a Christian family in the way that God has designed Christian families to be.
Pastor Jason said something about, feeling like a caged lion, letting that lion out of the cage, and called to stand up for what I know and what I believe in the Bible and what God has said. I was a teacher. I was a coach for 14 years, had a very safe, secure job, career. And my wife, Katie, was doing well in her private practice, therapy. And our kids were in public school and, living the typical American life. But, first couple weeks when Pastor Jason was preaching about God and country, we were really talking about me quitting teaching, homeschooling our kids, and helping expand the therapy business, making a group practice. And we did a lot of praying, a lot of crying, talked to a lot of people. And then, every week it seemed like Pastor Jason just said, something else that really was like reinforced that what we were doing was not, what we were really called to do.
It was amazing to see Justin. He's always been an upstanding man, and to see my man rise up and answer the call to be a man and lead our family in a godly way. I will admit that was pretty nice to see him lead in such a godly way, and it has revolutionized our family. And this last almost 1 year, we've done some hard things and answered some hard calls, but we have had some fantastic blessings.
It's a risk financially to quit your job and give up your salary and give up your retirement and give up, all those things that the world says that you need, but God has always provided for us. We've been through a lot.
Well, we have a history of, in the time that we've been together, where God has called us to do big, scary things. And we felt that call very clearly, and we knew there was going to be a financial investment, but we have a history of every time God has called us to something, and even when things were tight, there's always been a flood of blessing on the other end of it.
I finally understood that not doing anything was still doing something. It was still making that choice. And yeah, I mean, it was risky. It was really scary. It still is, but not doing anything was still choosing to do something.
So to people who are regular givers, big givers, who in my mind, are investing into what we're doing, the ministries that we do at Roots Church, I would say thank you. Your giving is not for nothing. So in our personal life, you have shaped my husband into becoming the leader of our home in a way that I don't think would have happened before Roots. I've learned how to have friends and engage in a church community, which I didn't have. I mean, growing up in church, it's sad to say I hadn't experienced that before the way I have now. And then our 3 kids. And we have pigs and dogs and goats too, but I mean, I would say them too, but just, I mean, those 3 kids, they mean something. And so I have to think of the ripple effect for that, the generational effect of what that's meant to us. And so I think of, I hope when I give, I know when I give, I think of people like Gus. So when we give a gift, I like to think of, what families we're influencing and people come into Christ through our giving. And I hope people who also love to give, because it's fun, can think of that as well.